Good evening and welcome to our final of the 3 stewardship conversations we're having with different parishioners of St. Alban the Martyr. And again, we're here with Diane Worley, who is the stewardship committee chair. And tonight we're here with Deborah Preudhomme. And I'm just going to hand it over to Deborah for a second for her to introduce herself to those people who may not know her.
Hello, everyone. My name is Deborah Preudhomme, and I am a member of St. Albans the Martyr Church.
You've been a member for how long?
30 years.
30. Since like 1980 something, right?
91 when Brianna was born.
Yeah, okay. 91. So you're actually, of all the conversations, I think you've been there the shortest.
Oh, really?
Because we had somebody 50 years, 30 years, and now we've got 30 years, 40 years, and now you're about 30. So what tell people what you've been involved with since you've been a member of St. Alban the Martyr.
I was really involved in the Sunday school because at that time Derek was in the CFA or in the Sunday school and then moved on to the CFA. And then I got involved in the St. Anne's Guild, and I got involved in any other opportunity there was. Like if there was a trip or something, I would just help out with it.
And you've been involved in diocesan things too, right? I think you were on
Yes.
Cathedral chapter and some other things. I know you've been a representative to diocesan convention, so you've been all over the place.
Yes.
You've worked hard. So I'm going to start off with the same question that we ask everybody is, we talk about giving from a place of gratitude, right? So what over your 30 years of being a member of St. Alban the Martyr, but maybe even especially over these last 20 months, what makes you grateful for the parish?
I'm grateful for the parish because thinking of how we really evolved, I realized that people can get over struggles. And for me, that was a very personal matter. And yet it was a community matter for everyone.
Yeah. I mean, personal struggles during both COVID and before, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Yeah. We've talked about this a lot, and Diana can ring in as well, is that, what's important about church is of course, the worship of God, but it's also the community that it brings with it, and kind of the sense of family.
And I think everyone who wanted to saw a sense of family and the things that they were involved in. For me, it was a difference between hope and wish. You can hope for something and you can make it happen by doing the steps to make it happen. But wish is just a fruitful wish. Whatever you want to wish for, you can. And I think that because everyone shared in the struggle, it was a more of a hope that we can overcome this, just like we can overcome other things in our life.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Deborah, let me interject first of all and say thank you so much for agreeing to have a conversation with us. For me, I have hosted this for the last 5 years. I don't know if it will be my last. Father Keith will decide that, but
I know you've been there a long time.
Yeah. It's also a very good chance to get to hear others, their experiences, what St. Alban the Martyr has meant to them over the years during good, bad, in between times. And for you, especially, Deborah, I know that 2020 has been a most challenging year for you, but you've weathered that storm and many other storms. So by overcoming that, do you care to share or expound a little bit more on how meaningful having your church family support you, the love, and from a spiritual point of view, how has it helped you during those difficult times in your life?
During those times, I thought of different things like, simple songs that I thought were just simple, like Where he leads me, I will follow. That began to have a different meaning for me because at that time we needed leaders. We needed people to tell us what to do because no one knew exactly what was going on. And every time you heard something, you would hear something that would counteract what you just heard.
Mhm.
And you had to really make a decision that, I'm going to follow God in this because
Amen.
I'm not sure that these other people know what they're talking about. And even if they do know what they're talking about, I've made the choice to follow God in that.
That's right. And I think that you were a source of hope for a lot of people especially during COVID, because even as you had your own struggles, you were always on for morning prayer and you always were participating and we could always hear your voice. And it was really inspirational to hear your prayer, kind of in some of the worst of it. So it was, you were just as much of a beacon of hope and God's love to your parish as your parish was to you. And I hope that you know that.
Yeah.
But there were some people who would come into the room whenever I was online with morning prayer, and they would say afterwards, as time went on, we got to know each other because I was there for so long, that they were really Rastafarians. And yet they would stand around and listen and say, I never gave any other church a chance, and maybe I should. And I felt a sense of community with that.
Yeah.
Because every time, Father Keith, that you say reach out to the community, I look up and down Farmers Boulevard and I wonder, now which one I really want to reach out to. But without trying, we reached out to a lot of they call them PCAs now, who would come into the room and they would just stand around and listen, or they would make sure that they were near the door so that they could listen, even if they had something else to do. And I really appreciated that. Even though maybe they never said anything to me, I knew they were listening by the looks on their face.
Right.
Mhm.
Yep.
Because we spoke from a real faith-based spiritual point of view. A lot of people at that time were really afraid, as you said, and where else do you turn to when you are very afraid? I don't care what your denomination is. There's a spiritual being. You turn to God. And he, like you said, he leads you, he directs you, and that's who you listen to. Because man, for whatever reason, their whole MO is to sometimes speak on truths. And what happens when we speak on truths? We are led astray. We don't know. We become fear. We're filled with fear. And the one thing we need to do is really refocus on our faith and turn to God in prayer.
Right.
And I think St. Alban Martyr and all that it has done for the community, it awakened a lot of people's minds to that. Yeah.
Deborah, one of my favorite moments as rector of St. Alban the Martyr was at the prayer, I think it was a prayer breakfast you put on prayer. You put on a day of retreat prayer, maybe my second or third year. I can't exactly remember which year.
It was January of 2019.
Oh, was it January of 2019?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So it's right after I had gotten sick and all my surgeries. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So I remember
one of the last things we had, right?
No, that was
Yes.
January 2020. No, January 2020 is COVID. It was a year before. It was a year before COVID.
Or was it 2020?
No,
it was January 2020.
Well,
okay, whatever date. Yeah. Okay.
Whatever, yeah.
When it was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You went out and you started to talk about giving to the church, right? And you did this whole wonderful speech about giving to the church. And I stood up and screamed, and I wrote on Facebook, "My work here is done."
Facebook.
Yep. And I remember texting the bishop saying, "Oh, someone gets it. Finally, they got it." But you really were able to capture what it meant to give from a place of gratitude. I'm just wondering if you could talk about what does it mean to give back to God through the church from a place of gratitude for you?
For me, I think it's a gift. It is not a commitment. Although everyone thinks that you have to really make this commitment and sometimes people do it and sometimes they don't. But if they see it as a gift, like a gift to a friend, I mean, what better friend than we have in Jesus?
Mm,
Just give whatever you have, just give. And I think that for myself, when I was working, if I had this mindset, I would have had it set up. I would not be able to myself, but I would have had someone set it up where I would really give from my salary just right off the bat, as opposed to later giving to the church. I don't think that giving to the church should be after everything else is done. I think it should be a part of everything else that needs to be done. And that's how I see it. It's a gift to the church. It's not the commitment so that you can say, oh, I'm going to do something. You need to just give it without any pressure. Just give it from yourself. Just give whatever you can.
yeah.
And a little bit more than whatever you can.
It should always be a push, right?
Just a little
Right.
bit.
I had a professor in seminary who used to say, why is the church always the last check we write? Shouldn't it be the first? Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that was a big slap across the face when he said that. And that really changed my perspective as well. When he said that, it's not a charitable giving. It's really giving back to God what God has given you. And like I like what you said about it being a gift to God. It's a gift to God, right? We're giving God our gift. Scripture talks about giving God our first fruits. And our first fruits from what we make is important. So with that, how have you seen God working through St. Alban the Martyr? Like, where have you seen God at work at St. Alban the Martyr? And it could be recently, or it could be through your whole time with us.
Through my whole time, I think that what I see working is that people actually, no matter how much they complain, they get along there. And that's very important to me. People really get along there and they're very truthful to each other. If you have a problem, there's always someone who can help you with that problem. Or they could bring you something that makes you smile. Like, I got more flowers from females than males. And that was just so important to me because usually women just don't give other women flowers, but they did. And I thought that was really nice. It was a nice gesture. It was not a gender situation. They just went along and they gave it. And when I see the things that go on there, like, I think that St. Albans the Martyr, number one, can adapt to change. There have been so many changes. And at first, I wasn't sure how the changes would play out, but I think they played out very well because you don't even hear people complaining anymore. And the complaining puts some people off and it makes other people realize there's an opportunity for them to jump in and do something. And I think that's a very important part of a church. Everyone is willing to do something. Maybe not what you want them to do, but they're willing to do something. And yeah, maybe not. And when ideas are brought out, they're not thrown down. If they want to take it as far as they want to take it, you have allowed them to take it. I'm talking about recent years now. You have allowed them to take it. And I'm sure they wish they would give you the idea and you would pick up on it. And it takes a lot not to pick up on it and take it and make it your own. But you have allowed certain people to make things their own, which is really helpful to the church, which is really a positive feeling for the church. And it gives, what I said before, hope as opposed to I wish things would happen.
Yeah. I remember somebody said to me, I don't suggest things anymore because you're just going to tell me to do it myself. I said, oh, good. I've done what I'm supposed to do.
Exactly.
That's
you
a
want
good
to do
thing.
it, do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Part of that is recognizing too that you can't do it all yourself.
That's right.
There are others willing to help. They may not, as to Deborah's point, it may not be what you want them to do, but certainly they can fill in other areas. And
Something.
that's hugely important. Yeah.
Well, and it's part of giving to God, right? I mean, giving to God,
Yes.
I
Of
mean,
your
we're talking about
service.
finances, but giving God of our time is also important. And it's not
Mhm.
just an hour or so on Sundays. It needs to
Right.
be more.
Yeah.
You know, part of being a parish community is being a contributor financially, but also a contributor with your time and your talents.
Mhm.
You know, all three are equally important. So, Deborah, my last question for you is, where do you see God calling us to go in the future? Where is God calling us to be?
I think God wants us to network with the people in the church who are, but Diane knows this. We used to call each other the willing workers, you know, who are
Always the
willing
same
to
crew.
do that. No, it's so funny, but it is so real. The ones
Yeah.
who are willing to work, you know, get on board, and the ones who aren't, eventually they will either attach themselves or they won't. But the willing workers, let's just work with them, lift them up, and just keep going, because that I see that God is working through a lot of them. And if you notice what's going on in the church, like you said, there's more people are coming to church if they can. I mean, that is a wonderful thing, because everyone comes and they complain. I'm going to talk about what you said with the building the ramp for people to come into church. Everyone complains about the steps, but you don't see that when they're coming up the steps. They are looking very happy to come up the steps and get into church. So the ramp will enhance that happiness. It won't make it like, oh God, now I got the ramp. They come with their heels on up those stairs, and it is a lot of stairs for some of them, but they love it. You know, they're smiling. They're not grimacing when they're coming up the stair, because they want to get to the narthex. They want to see people, and that's important. And there's no better friend than to be in church with, knowing that what a friend you have in Jesus and all the people around you. It is really, really wonderful. And I see, that's what I see. And that's what I hear God saying. Let's work with who we have.
With that look and that approach, huh?
Yes, let's work with what we have, you know.
And we have a lot, right? We're really
We
blessed.
have a lot.
Yes.
We have a lot.
Yes.
We have a
Yes.
lot.
Yes.
And a
Yes.
lot of them are willing to do more, and they just laid back. And if we can get more out of them, I'm sure that you'll be able to get it out of them, or someone in the church will be able to promote them, that they will also jump in and do things.
Yeah. We also
And
have to get back used to the idea of being able to do things, right? I mean, it's been almost 2 years where we haven't been able to do any things, and now that that's shifting, we all have to kind of change our mindset about that.
Yeah.
And so we're slowly trying to do that, and it's been good to see people really step up. So
Yeah,
Diane, what were you going to say?
no, I was saying more importantly to what Deborah was saying is that we have unity and we get along. We don't have a bunch of bickering and riff and you know that's so important in a church, you know, in our church. And it's good because, as I said, you can go to someone and you don't get too much opposition, you know. They're willing, so we want to keep that message. We want that inclusion.
And we have people, I
Going.
mean, not everyone gets along. That's fine. I mean, that's
That's fine.
nature.
Yeah.
But there's not fighting. We don't fight. That's what I tell people.
Right, the infighting, yeah.
When we talk to people about coming on vestry, I'm always like, but we don't fight, right? We may have disagreements, but we don't fight. We don't hate each other. We don't, you know, there's no knockdown dragouts. And it's the same out there in the church. We get along. And I think that's really, it's a good way of kind of modeling God's kingdom for people. So
Yeah.
Right. And no one feels that they can't say what they want to say. And that's very important, because whenever you block someone from expressing themselves, that does cause, in my opinion, infighting amongst each other.
Yes.
But no one is, barred from saying anything. You can just say what you want to say and move on. Everybody's like, well, she don't want to do it. No problem. There's
You
always
remember,
someone else.
that's Dorrit Button, God bless her
Oh,
soul.
yes.
May she rest in peace and rise in glory.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
No, may everyone around her rest in peace.
Yeah.
Oh, I
yeah.
miss that. I miss her. I've been thinking about her this
I
last.
really miss her. I
Yes,
miss her. I mean,
yes. You knew where you stood with Dorrit, whether you liked it or not.
like a nut.
But she wasn't the only, and this, by the way, for those watching, this is a whole bunch of gratitude you're hearing, right? Because
Yeah.
we're
And
grateful
love.
for the Dora Boddens and loves. And you knew where you're right, you knew where you stood with her, but Dottie Wilkie was the same way. And Lillian Perry was the same way. All these wonderful women that were so wonderful.
Warriors.
Yes, they were warriors, and I miss them so much.
Yeah.
I miss them so much.
Cecilia. Oh my God. Too many to mention. Yeah. Yeah.
Cecilia and
Dottie.
I didn't get to know Cecilia.
A force to reckon with. That's all.
Oh, yeah.
I know her at this point.
My mom used to say, don't think you're going to march in and just sit anywhere you want. They know
Oh,
automatically.
No. Oh, no. Oh, no. I mean, just coming to the church for the first time and meeting Dr. Wilkie, I was like, oh my gosh, what is going on in this church?
But you came back.
I came back, you know what I mean? And I was like, oh, she's not going to challenge me and stop me from coming to church. She asked me, who did I come to see?
She's the big.
In that gruff manner.
And
but under that gruff manner was a heart like you'd never know.
A teddy bear.
I know.
Yes.
She said, who you come here to see and who's your family? I said, what?
Or as soon as you arrive, they're in the fifth pew on the right.
Yeah.
That's right. She knew where everybody was. So
you
to get back at the topic,
I went over
ladies,
to the left.
It's part of giving, though. Part of all this means that we're continuing on their legacy, right? The legacy of really strong, faithful Christians that came before us.
They paved the way.
Yes.
Yep. Both for our annual giving, which we're talking about now, but also I think for the building campaign as well. It's about continuing on in their legacy. So
yes.
Anyway, do either of you have anything else you want to have people hear before we wrap it up?
I think that as far as giving, I think that when people see something that happens as a part of the giving, it increases their desire to give more.
Yes.
And I think just that alone helps, even if you're not thinking about it, like if you're not thinking about increasing how much you give, if you see that something is happening, you feel like you want to be a part of it. So you just give more.
Yeah, it's a little harder when we ask people for money for bills, our light bills and salaries, but things are always happening. Our weekly tithes, our weekly offerings go to, we try our best, but definitely with the building project, hopefully we'll see things begin to happen sooner rather than later.
And I don't think as a church that you have to give a blow by blow report every time we did this, we did that. Once you make the statement, this is what we're doing, and the reason why we need this money is for that reason, people will look forward to seeing the end product, as opposed to constantly reminding, oh, we did this, we did that. The end product is really what people are looking for. And there's no one in that church who's been going for a while that does not understand the necessary part of what's being done.
That's right.
Even if they try to forget it, they will not be able to forget it every Sunday when you try to come up those stairs. And I know you can go over to the side, but no one really likes to go over to the side for whatever reason. They just prefer to go up the stairs.
Yeah, no, people won't use that side ramp, but we need to fix the stairs, we need to keep our staff, and we need to keep our ministries going. So I know that we're going to do that.
And thank you to all the parishioners.
I think everything is going to work out.
Yeah, everything is going to work out. And yes, you're right. Thank you to everybody. And thank
Yeah.
you, Deborah, for joining us tonight.
Yes.
And thank you, Diane, for your help as
You're
always.
very welcome.
Sure,
Yes.
sure. It was a
Nice.
pleasure speaking with all of our candidates, and to the parishioners who are listening to, thank you for all that you do and all that you will continue to do as we grow in ministry.
Amen. Amen.